So, by a very brilliant and wonderful man, and it took a lot of courage for him to do this. As you know, their family's slightly Democrat for the last long period of time. RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy.
I said, let's go put the bear in Central Park and we'll make it look like he got hit by a bike. It'll be funny for people.
And he's going to be with us, and he's going to make sure our food is safe, our people are safe.
RFK Jr.'s presidential campaign is responding to new reporting that he suffered memory loss due to a parasitic worm in his brain. You heard that right. His
brain worms. If our women are safe.
Pointed out, those allegations came out. She was a babysitter for him in 1999, 1998. And he made some advances on her, unwanted advances on her, groped her, she says. She recorded some of this in a diary that was concurrent with the Times. Now, he was asked about it point blank today, and he's a church boy, and what he did in his youth, he's got skeletons in his closet, he said. Well, he was 45 at the time of these allegations, that he, had various affairs over the years, that during the time he was married to his second wife, and, some of his purported diaries leaked out into the press a few years ago.
Just take care of everybody's health, and he'll do a great job of it.
Democratic presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is facing criticism for spreading false claims about COVID-19.
He repeated a conspiracy theory that the virus was, quote, ethnically targeted against certain groups while sparing Jewish and Chinese people. Multiple prominent Democrats condemned those remarks. The Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee described them as anti-Asian and anti-Semitic. The Anti-Defamation League also denounced the comments.
Taking a group of people falconing and up in Goshen, New York, up in the Hudson Mountain, a van in front of me hit a bear and killed it, a young bear. So I pulled over and I picked up the bear and put him in the back of my van because I was going to skin the bear. And it was very good condition, and I was going to put the meat in my refrigerator. And you can do that in New York State. You can get a bear tag for a roadkill bear. And at the end of the dinner, it went late, and I realized I couldn't go home. I had to go to the airport. And the bear was in my car, and I didn't want to leave the bear in the car because that would have been bad. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I'm here outside of the United States Department of Agriculture to tell you about a win-win policy that I'll be pushing in the Trump administration. It's a win for farmers, for consumers, and for the environment. And the key that I think that President Trump has promised me is control of the public health agencies, which are HHS and its sub-agencies, CDC, FDA, NIH, and a few others.
Okay, first, just wipe your camera with your sleeve or a dead bear or whatever else you have hanging around. But more importantly, that's very bad. To put it mildly, you don't want RFK in charge of the CDC if there's another pandemic, or even if there isn't.
Trump said tonight, he says, I'm going to let him go wild on health. I'm going to let him go wild on food. I'm going to let him go wild on medicines. Somebody explain to me why that makes any sense.
It doesn't.
It doesn't make any sense. Honestly, at the end of the day, that is terrifying. That thought is terrifying. This is the guy that was banned from Meta for disinformation about medicines. This is a guy that was pulled offline because of his massive disinformation about the vaccines around COVID. This is a guy who...
And by the way, vaccines even long before.
Long before.
And his claims are completely
As
debunked.
someone was a child in school, I'm sure a lot of Americans have children in school, the idea of having vaccine mandates for all diseases pulled from schools, we're going to have a resurgence of smallpox, of measles, of polio. Why would we do that to ourselves? Who asked for that?
Is it so cynical? I mean, is this just a cynical play for votes? I mean, he's on the ballot in some places. He wants those people to come to his side. He's promising the nation's health and science to somebody who is a conspiracy theorist on those very issues?
I mean, one of the sub-agencies that he did not mention in that list is CMS, which administers all of Medicare and Medicaid. So do you want RFK Jr. responsible for your parents' health care?
I mean, I haven't
I don't think your
certainly-
parents will have health care under this
Well,
administration.
I think that's the point.
I think that's the point.
What we're talking about is the health care of arguably 100 million Americans being overseen by
The guy who cut a whale's face off with a chainsaw and rode it on his car.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is now under federal investigation for allegedly decapitating a dead whale and taking the head home.
What is going on with this dude?
Time conservationists allegedly sawed the head off a dead whale back in 1994 after it washed up on a Massachusetts beach. Kennedy reportedly cut off the whale's head and then bungee corded it to the roof of the family minivan before driving it across state lines to bring it back to his New York home so he could study the skull. RFK's daughter, Kit Kennedy, originally shared the fishy anecdote more than a decade ago.
She said every time they accelerated, quote, whale juice poured into the windows.
I want to hear from Mark and Scott with this.
Well, I mean, first off, the Secretary of HHS, Secretaries of USDA are Senate confirmed, and so they're also separate people. What I would say is that what we have seen.
I think he's arguing that it won't be.
According to RFK, it's not going to be.
And one thing I would say, whether it's all, I'm not saying specifically about RFK Jr., but the only thing that you can do with conspiracy theories is provide fact and truth and hope that eventually it wins them over.
Are you saying that you don't think RFK can be Senate confirmed?
I would have to ask the new Senate leader.
When you are very damaged individual, I've known him nearly all of his life. He's a very smart guy, and he's a nice guy, but he's a damaged guy.
This man over here in the corner, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, why does he deserve it? Well, he's running for president. He launched his campaign as a Democrat and is now running as an independent. And polls show that he's popular with up to 20% of potential voters. And he spent a significant portion of his campaign spreading misinformation about health and science. He has suggested baselessly that antidepressants cause mass shootings. He's falsely linked gender dysphoria to a pesticide. He's also spoken out not only about the COVID vaccine, but many others, saying that they cause autism, which is a claim that has been repeatedly debunked. Kennedy is using his presidential run, as well as his family's name and legacy, to bring new life and legitimacy to a bunch of conspiracy theories that have no basis in science. And that's why PolitiFact has designated his campaign of falsehoods as its lie of the year for 2023.
Mad world. And like many people that you talked to had and think that what he's doing now is sort of sad. Kind of the conclusion that you got.
Well, listen, I went there wanting to experience this Kennedy charm. I have to say, I expected to be charmed. I wanted to see the Kennedy estate, and I wanted to find out about his history. And well, it didn't turn out that way. When I began to kind of ask him basic questions, I thought, about his campaign, and you talk about the possibility of him running as a libertarian, he clearly does not like the party he's in, which is he's constantly critical of it. His biggest fans are Steve Bannon and, Tucker Carlson, whose show he had been on the night before he saw me. And, a basic journalistic question would be like, well, what's that about? And so he got really aggravated and really enraged, actually, the more I asked these kinds of questions. And, at some point I felt, bullied by him. And I think this is, part of this personality tick that I think some of his friends are curious about today. Like, why is he trafficking in so many conspiracy theories? Because he laid so many on me. I mean, a mile a minute, my head was spinning. I couldn't keep heads or tails, whether it's the CIA or the FDA or the big pharma and, Bill Gates, and everybody's connected, and I'm involved apparently too. The media has been compromised by the CIA. It was one thing after another. And, you think you're in some Alex Jones hit. And so I felt disappointed, I have to say, with how hostile he turned out to be. And he may have found me hostile to asking these questions, but how surprised can you be if you're running for president of the United States that a reporter shows up and asks some hard questions?
Reckless rhetoric helped fuel anti-Semitic incidents, which for the record are at the highest level in the United States since 1970. They have nearly tripled in the last 6 years. Last week, You floated a baseless conspiracy theory that the coronavirus was bioengineered to target Caucasians and black people, but to spare Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese people. Mr. Kennedy, your bizarre, unproven claim echoes that same historic slander of labeling Jews and Chinese people as a race, and that Jews, and in this case Chinese people, somehow managed to avoid a deadly illness that targets other groups for death. You do see that, yes or no?
You're misstating.
No. I quoted what you said earlier, and it is directly what you said. So just ask me yes or no.
I was describing an NIH-funded study.
No, you didn't cite any.
I was describing an NIH-funded study by Cleveland Clinic scientists.
Reclaiming my time. You did not reference reclaiming my time.
John F. Kennedy's grandson, not mincing words when it comes to his cousin RFK Jr.'s 2024 run.
He's trading in on Camelot, celebrity, conspiracy theories, and conflict for personal gain and fame. I've listened to him. I know him. I have no idea why anyone thinks he should be president. What I do know is his candidacy is an embarrassment.